Hello, it's XY here. Today I want to talk about singleness from the Protestant Christian perspective. Now, from the Protestant Christian perspective, there are three kinds of people, it seems. There's those who are married and should be faithful in their marriage, husband of one wife, wife of one husband, monogamy. The second kind of person is the person who is single but looking. Someone who is single but not satisfied. The third kind of person is the person who is very rare, who is called to a lifelong singleness, lifelong celibacy. Now, I'd like to challenge that notion a little bit, and that in light of 1 Corinthians 7. I actually think there's two kinds of people. Those who are married and those who are not. Those who are sexually active and those who are not. Yes, I'm assuming that perspective that those who are not married should not be sexually active. Those who are not married should be celibate. So those who are sexually active and those who are celibate are the two kinds of people that I'm proposing. Now, the reason why I'm doing this is because I just think, you're married or you're not. Lifelong singleness is a category as distinguished from those who are single and looking is not all that helpful. Yes, there might be degrees by which someone who is single has that gift of singleness or that gift of contentment. But in one sense, everyone who's single should have some measure of contentment, some measure of contentment in the Lord. And those who are called to singleness, or those who end up, let's just say those who end up single for the rest of their lives, have something also to hope for that has some sort of characteristic of marriage. So I think the unmarried should be one category simply because there are degrees to which that category manifests, and it's not a separation between those who are called to lifelong singleness and those who are single and looking and are not going to be satisfied unless they find a spouse. Now, everyone who is single and celibate is free to transfer over to the married life, free to transfer over to being married and sexually active within that marriage. And that is stated by Paul in 1 Corinthians 7. What 1 Corinthians 7 does not give a category for is those who are single but looking, who don't have an opportunity to marry, but they're in a constant state of being unsatisfied. Now, there's the assumption that, yes, there is discontentment in the way that the result is that you will be married. So you might have a prospect, you might have someone you're betrothed to, but for someone who doesn't have anyone lined up, it's quite a miserable state to be in a state of discontentment. So the last thing to consider is that those who do not have a prospective spouse, we should consider that they have been given a gift. There's no such thing as the person who does not have a prospective spouse, who is living in this mode of pure affliction. They have been given a gift. And yes, there might be the person who would consider it more of a gift than another, but the gift is still there, and it's still there for everyone who is unmarried, who does not have a prospective spouse. And for those who do have a prospective spouse, I've seen it manifest very fruitfully, just that priority to actually get married and not to delay. If you desire to be married, if you desire that person who is a prospective spouse, get married. You are free to do so. Now, and if you don't want to marry, consider it a gift. And let that other person be free to marry whomever they please, if they should so please to do so. Now regarding this lifelong singleness, it could be a thing that someone is called to lifelong singleness. If we look back on their lives and say yes, or if there's some sort of maybe reproductive defect, or maybe if there's some, something, something that they just feel very much called to do. But I don't think it's a separate category, and here's why. Because I do not think we should impose vows on people or encourage people to take vows if they are content in their singleness, because things do change, and we should be careful to what we vow. And so I don't think, even if someone does vow to an extent, I do not think there's a third category. I don't think there's a third category of people who are called into lifelong singleness, as distinguished from those who are single and do not have a prospective spouse. Now, we might ask, is that person who is single and celibate, who does not have a prospective spouse and has a gift, should they be looking? And I'm not saying that they shouldn't be looking. Now, but just like the person who might be wanting to vow to stay single for the rest of their life, should we, and I'll include myself in that, should we be looking to the point where it is like a vow which we bind ourselves? I would want to refrain from making that strong category of single and looking, just like I'd want to refrain from making the category of the other extreme, single and not looking. I think it's inevitable that most people will transfer over to being married, or at least many people will. And I say that's good, and that's good, holy, and the person has not sinned by doing so. At the same time, single and looking breeds uncontentment if that looking part overshadows the gift of singleness. And I think everyone who is single should pursue contentment and embrace the gift of their singleness more than embrace that status of being single and looking. So thank you for making it to the end of this video, and I hope to make a future video on and future videos explaining the gift of singleness, the gift of celibacy, and how it should be explored by everyone who does not have a prospective spouse.